Louisiana. Let's explore one of the most haunted locations in the entire city, the LaLaurie House. In 1832, Dr. Louis LaLaurie and his wife Delphine moved into their beautiful mansion at 1140 Royal Street. The house was made for extravagant parties and elite social gatherings. Madame LaLaurie was considered one of the most intelligent and beautiful women in the entire city. Every woman wanted to be her. But as beautiful as she was on the outside, people were beginning to suspect that something ugly was going on behind closed doors. Like most wealthy families during that time, the LaLauries owned slaves. They prepared the meals and made the fancy parties possible. But rumors began to stir. Madame's slaves seem to come and go quite often, don't you think? What do you mean? Look around. Do any of these workers look familiar to you? It seems like she changes them so often. Till one day, when a neighbor was climbing her stairs, she heard a scream coming from the LaLaurie house and looked over to see Madame chasing a little girl with a whip. There was nothing she could do but watch in horror as the little girl climbed to the rooftop with Madame following close behind. With nowhere to go, the little girl jumped. Even though slaves were barely considered human back in those times, there were still laws that prohibited exceptionally cruel treatment. So the neighbor called the authorities, who had the LaLaurie's slaves impounded and sold at an auction. But Madame was sneaky. She arranged for her relatives to buy her workers and sell them back to her. After that incident, Madame's reputation began to change. People were no longer eager to attend the parties at their house, nor even interact with the family. Eventually, they were alienated by the Creole Society. And in 1834, things would only get worse. Madame kept her cook chained to the kitchen by her ankle. For whatever reason, Madame had threatened to take her to the upstairs room. This terrified the cook. Whenever anyone went up to that room, they never came back. The cook decided she would rather die by her own hand than to suffer by Madame LaLaurie's, so she set the kitchen on fire. It spread throughout the entire house, and not a part of the mansion was left unscathed. Neighbors came rushing over to help fight the flames, but after the smoke had cleared, they made a horrific discovery in the attic. What I'm about to tell you is possibly one of the most graphic and horrendous scenes in American history. You have been warned. The fire had burned down the door to reveal the upstairs room, filled with dozens of naked slaves. Some were strapped to what looked like an operating table. A few were chained to the wall. Others were crouched in small cages. One woman had her stomach slit open and her intestines wrapped around her waist like a cruel corset.